Hello and good evening, one and all. Welcome to the NRL 6th season, and boy, have we missed every single one of you. My name is Toon, and I am accompanied by a familiar face. You know him, you love him, our very own Slow-Mo. And I'm also accompanied by a new face this week. let's all give a very warm welcome to S7R's very own hovercraft. Slow-mo, starting with you, how does it feel to be back, buddy?
Oh my goodness, so happy to be back in the NRL booth here. This season is shaping up to be absolutely exciting. Without a doubt, there's a ton of talent that's going to be on track with us this season. So we are certainly going to see an exciting season 6 of the NRL. How are you feeling, Toon?
Oh, I'm feeling fantastic. And honestly, I couldn't agree more with your sentiments. We are in for an amazing season. Now, Hovercraft, welcome aboard, first of all. How are you feeling about being up here in the booth for the first time for the NRL?
Well, I'm feeling pretty good, all right. Thank you for the opportunity to everyone in NRL, but I'm very excited to see what this season has in store for all of us, especially tonight.
Really happy to hear that. Now, we have a fantastic season ahead of us, but before we can properly get the season underway, we have to do our pre-qualifying to see who our racers will be, and that pre-qualifying begins now. But before we do that, though, we would like to give a special thank you to our sponsors. Alright, we here at the NRL would love to extend a special thank you to our sponsors this season, starting with Dumb Guys Do Racing, DGDR. This high-octane weekly podcast is where 4 drivers from the PDX Sim team take you inside the world of motorsport and sim racing. From breaking news to heated debates, wild stories to pro tips, these guys cover it all with passion, humor, and just the right amount of chaos. For your podcast fix, these are available on all platforms with new weekly episodes dropped every Monday. We would like to thank Hanky's Tavern, situated in charming Old Town Florissant in St. Louis, Missouri. If great food, great drinks, and great company are what you're looking for, then look no further than Hanky's Tavern. If you're in the St. Louis area, then stop on by and watch the NRL broadcast live on their many large screen TVs and let them know that the NRL sent you. We'd also like to extend a special thank you to Little J CPA, turning streams and side hustles into smart money moves. Whether you're building a small business, growing a brand, or cashing in on streaming income, we'll help you track earnings, maximize deductions, and keep more of what you worked for. You focus on the building, we handle the numbers. We also would like to thank Lithograph Comics. Lithograph Comics is not a comic store, but rather a comic book enthusiast bringing awareness to the hobby of comic book collecting. Located on Instagram, you'll find Greg, aka Litho, sharing comic book history, stories, and his personal collection spanning a 35-plus year comic book journey. That's Lithograph Comics on Instagram. You can scan the QR code on screen for more information. Written by Lawrence Brown, better known as Tuzzenbox, embark on an epic journey as we accompany Mist, a young man trained by his father in the art of swordsmanship. After honing his skills at a weapons academy, he became a wandering traveler, exploring new lands and meeting new people. During his travels, Mist witnesses a catastrophic event that engrosses him in a grand plot that can mean the difference between safety of his family, friends, and homeland, or destruction of not just his home, but the entire planet. The Mist Chronicles trilogy is available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle formats. Thank you all so much for your support this season. Now, with all that said, let's get into what our drivers are up against this week for our pre-qualifying. Now, for this illustrious pre-qualifying session, our drivers will be over in Barcelona at Catalunya. They will have a 20-minute time limit. They will be driving the Group 3 Subaru BRZ GT 300 2021 model. There will be 3 times tire, 3 times fuel. They will have an initial fuel capacity of 30 liters. It'll be a crisp, sunny late morning. The BOP will be on, brake balance will be allowed, there will be heavy damage, and the drivers are not allowed to reset themselves in the pits. If they need to pit, they have to finish the lap and drive in normally. Now, over to Slow-Mo to explain how the points work this round.
Yeah, thank you, Toon. Unlike some of the past seasons, the drivers will get points from the qualifying session. So you'll see that the top third there are going to end up with 5 points after qualifying. The middle third is going to get 3 points, and the bottom third will get nil. No points for them. So you'll see the top 14 drivers are going to end up in Division A, and then also the second 14 drivers in the group are going to end up in Division B for their respective days.
Thank you very much, Slomo. Love being able to kick it over to you. For our first split driver lineup, we have Alicos, Bells, Fernando Button, Hondo, MK3SK, I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that name, PHG Shaggy Talon, and a returning face from Season 1, Hako1337. Now, as you can see, listed on the side of their driver names are going to be their Twitch or YouTube presences, should those be applicable to the drivers. You are more than welcome to go and check them out, but please make sure you leave a tab open and unmuted here, that way you don't miss any of the racing action. Well, so we've got quite a few new names, we've got some returning names, and we've got some drivers that are coming out of the woodwork from NRL's infancy. Hovercraft, given the driver lineup we see for Split 1, do you think it's only going to get more intense as we hit Split 2 and 3 tonight?
Oh, absolutely. Especially with how the rules are set up, right? Some of the previous podium finishers of the last season already get an automatic bye. So, as you saw in the earlier graphic, top 14 drivers go into Division A, top 14 Division B. Those slots are going to fill up very quickly with those automatic buys already. So I think we're going to see a lot of desperate laps, especially towards the end of these splits, to do everything they can to not only qualify overall, but just try to push themselves into that Division A.
Yeah, the qualifying is definitely going to be very interesting. It's probably going to be really tight as well. Slow-mo, do you expect any surprise entries to, rise to the top as we've seen in NRL past?
Obviously, as we mentioned, there's a ton of talent that's in this grid for the Friday group. I think one name to really keep an eye on through today's qualifying is going to be Krulov. He's a driver that actually didn't make last season. He has been racing a whole lot since then. For me, the question is if he's able to get over that bubble and get into that A division tonight. It's certainly a possibility. I think it's going to be a very tight competition to get in that, as Hovercraft mentioned.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a really, really tight grid. And speaking of the bubble for Division A and B, we're going to have to see where all these drivers fall into place as qualifying is now underway. So let's go and get on track and see what's going on. We will be starting with Season 1 champion Hako, and he is currently valiantly leading the charge as he heads down into Elf. So we've got, it's honestly a coin toss, and I know I say that pretty much every season, but really, it's always true. It's going to be a coin toss as we see Hako doing what Hako does best and burning the fuel as much as possible. As you can see on the side of the screen, we have a new and improved driver card and with all relevant information. And I think this looks very clean. Hats off to Croatian for the design and implementation of this. You've really outdone yourself, and we hope to see your work in seasons after this one. Oh boy. So as Hako currently drains his fuel, we'll jump on board with Talon, who is currently, I'd say, 3/4 of the way done with his outlap and is heading over towards Blanc Sabel after turning on Lacacia, I believe that's pronounced. We've got some interesting things to consider here. So in NRL past Hovercraft, you've probably seen there were drivers that wanted to get into Division A for the stiff competition, but there were also drivers that were trying to stay in Division B as much as humanly possible because they thought that they would either have more fair competition or they would kind of just run away with it and try and get the quote unquote easy dub. If you were racing right now in this pre-qualifying session, where would you be hoping you would line up?
Well, naturally, you're going to always compare your lap times to the rest of the grid, especially after the end of the night. I personally would always want to go as far up as I can. If I can punch above my weight, then I will do so. Obviously, there's a lot of talented drivers today. We are seeing some returning champions from earlier seasons. But I think, you're going to see a lot of different strategies tonight. I mean, you already see Talon and the difference between him and Hako. Hako was burning his fuel. He only probably wants to do one fast lap on this first set, or this first run. And these are going to be the things that really decide who gets into where, right? If you already have the awareness to try to implement a strategy in pre-qualifying, you're probably already lining yourself up to having a good chance of getting to Division A.
Oh, I agree wholeheartedly. I honestly think that trying to punch above your weight gives you the best opportunity for growth, because if you're sitting there racing a bunch of people that are, in your skill level or below, you'll kind of be treading water as opposed to striving to do better. And there's actually a lot of merit in going against people that are better than you, be it just by a little or if it's like a night and day difference. But one of the beauties about the NRL is also the fact that we do have drivers that will go and take the time to help each other understand the combination, understand the strategy. In like seasons past, when Hako was racing, he would always have lobbies up to, coach everybody and kind of just help everybody be better than when they entered. And that's actually like one of the things that McNaughty was shooting for with the inception of this. And it's honestly uplifting to see all that hard work paying off, like right in front of our eyes. Take Krulov, for example, got eliminated from last season, but has been on that grind nonstop and is now trying to make a name for himself. It's honestly just really nice. Now, as we jump on board with MK3TT SKR, part of Team Super Clean Racing, oh, that's what the SKR stands for. Currently doing their second hot lap as they come into the braking zone, trying to take a good line, getting two tires onto the curb, dancing from curb to curb, getting that momentum. This is a bit of a tricky bugger, though. You can really carry too much speed here and understeer off into the gravel. Oh, it looks like we also have a car parked on the side of the road in Alico's. Coming into the hairpin, taking a nice line and getting a little squirrely, but is able to hold on to it. That was very nice car control. So, jumping over to you, Slow-Mo, with all of the stuff we've talked about and, drivers aiming to improve themselves, you mentioned to keep an eye out for Krulov. Where are you personally expecting him to land now that he's been on a continuous journey of self-improvement in the realm of Gran Turismo?
And it's just based on where I kind of think the bubble's going to be. I think he has a very good opportunity to creep himself into that A division. I think we'll have to see if that plays out and, kind of what. There's going to be quite a few really low 140s. We're very likely to see some 139s before the night is over. So it's really interesting to see where this bubble's going to fall. And back to your question, I think Krulov has a very good chance to sneak his way right into that A division if he can get himself one good lap. It only takes one, right? In a 20-minute qualifying session, obviously they got a lot of different approaches that they're going to try and take, and these drivers were trying to run a perfect lap every time. That is the goal. So if they can put a couple really good consistent laps down and you're just trying to maybe subtract a 10th off, that could really bump you up from the B to the A division, depending upon how tight this group is going to be. And I fear it's going to be very tight.
Oh yeah, this is the NRL we're talking about. What was it, last season? Division A and B were separated by a couple thousandths of a second. So we are definitely going to be seeing some tight lap times from all these drivers. And speaking of lap times and everything, Hovercraft, since you are a member of Team S7R and have probably been on track with these drivers, what should some of these drivers maybe pre-qualifying tomorrow or maybe even after this split try and prioritize in terms of their pit stops to try and maximize their lap times? Do they do fresh tires? Do they only go for like X amount of fuel? Do they just top the car off fresh rubbers and send it for 20 minutes? So what would be your pieces of advice to these drivers?
Well, the most important thing to take note of this car is just how much it's going to chew its front tires. That's why we actually saw a bit of a strategy, alternate strategy from Hako. As you mentioned before, he was burning gas off while everyone else was just going at a normal pace. This was just to try to make sure that his first lap is actually on as low as fuel as possible, because on his third lap, I just was watching him on board. He aborted it because he made a mistake and he went into the pits with only 1% fuel, while everyone else was able to get to 4 laps, including in and out laps. So honestly, it's going to be more of a matter of balancing that fuel and tires. No one here should realistically be doing more than 2 laps or 2 hot laps on a pit stop. So, expect a lot of these drivers to get fresh rubber every time they come in and get around 20% of fuel to do 1 hot lap after the first set.
Okay, that was incredibly insightful. Thank you very much for that. With the pit strategies the way they are, and really with how this just chews through the front tires, we do have brake balance available. Oh, Talon losing the rear end, but holding on to it. Very good save. But with the way we've got these hurdles ahead of these drivers, and with the way they have to formulate their pit strategies, I sure hope these drivers also took into consideration the length of the pit stop, because one misstep in terms of calculating the duration of your pit, be it just for fuel or tires or for tires and fuel, that could really be a determining factor on whether or not you get that last out lap after the timer runs out. Would that be a correct assessment?
Absolutely, especially depending on when you come out of the pits right at the beginning of the qualifying session. You could be playing for seconds. As I say that, Alicos goes to the top of the timing boards. But yes, I had to say that, and Hako goes to the top of the timing boards. First 39 of the night. But yes, you are correct. You want to do everything you can to eke out every single hot lap that you can for the full 20 minutes.
In your time, practicing with your S7R teammates, how many hot laps were you able to reasonably get in the 20 minutes?
If I remember correctly, obviously I'm not the fastest driver from Sector 7, but I think I was able to eke out roughly 5 or 6 laps. That's going based off 4 laps in total for the first one, so 2 hot laps there, and then every other pit or every pit stop after that is going to be aiming for a 1 hot lap, so 3 laps in total for each pit. So I think it's very realistic to see 5, 6, maybe if someone really ekes out their in and out laps, 7 hot laps, but that's really pushing it.
I understand. And speaking of the fuel and tire strategy, we do have Shaggy, who is currently sitting on no fuel. So it is unfortunate, but luckily Shaggy has about another 9 minutes to get back to the pits and get back into trying to set a new hot lap. And we do indeed have the first 39 of the night. Do you think we'll see Alicos jump into the 39 territory? Because he's right there on the cusp. It's a 140.1. And I think Alicos does have that extra 1/10.5 in him. Maybe not this lap, because you want to get on, some better tires and all that, and really try and, push the car, give it everything you've got. But, 139 tonight, there's no way. We're going to be seeing many more. Honestly, I think I'm going to be keeping an eye out for a 139, maybe 5. Yeah, 139.5. That is the time I want to see from somebody this evening. And I don't know about you, Slow-Mo. What are you thinking the lowest time we'll see tonight is?
No, I think you're right in line there. I mean, I think you could see a 39.4, maybe a 39.3 if somebody really hits their groove correctly, if Stella gets her groove back. No, but I think, there's certainly a possibility for a very low 39 out there if the conditions are favorable for them. Kind of looking at the wind direction, I don't know if that's going to be what they'd rather have or not. Generally speaking, you want the wind blowing at your back as you're going down the straight if
Oh,
possible. So
sorry to cut you off, Slow-Mo. Looks like we just saw Fernando completely lose the tail end and just bin it. Already had a half-second penalty, too. That's just insult to injury for this pre-qualifier. Let's take a look at what happened here. So coming in and unstable. The car got too much of the inside, but it doesn't appear he got any damage. That was really, really lucky. But sorry about that, as you were saying.
No, I was just kind of talking about the track conditions. If they're favorable, these guys could very well rip out a very low 139. So I do also want to correct something that I said mistakenly. Krylov did qualify last season. He wanted to qualify in a better position, but he did qualify. It's not that he missed the cut. So excuse me on that one.
Okay. That's all right. We are only human after all. Now, as we take a look at Hako, who is coming through for another this is the outlap, my apologies. As Hako is bringing in the outlap, looks like we've got a fresh set of tires, just under a quarter of a tank of fuel, and wow, he's really gunning it. Getting on the inside curb, letting the car kind of coast a bit, and just absolutely gunning it, and revving the daylights out of this car. I guess we know how this car's supposed to be driven now. I honestly thought this was one of those you just bring it up till the meter's full and shift. I did not know this thing had more oomph in it. Now coming in through the Elf chicane and holding it nicely. Looks like we've got Alico's yielding to the driver starting the hot lap. We're actually seeing quite a bit of stuff. I'm honestly learning as we're seeing this, as we see this qualifier underway. Like, I didn't know how this car operated, but then again, I don't really know anybody who drives this car for funsies, so shows what I know. But as we got Hako coming up into Verth corner, getting on the curbing and kind of grazing the curb on the left side, still revving the daylights out of the car and shifting it up. Looks like not going to downshift for the corner, just let it coast. And heading into Lacacia, going purple by 0.07 of a second. All right, so we're going to be seeing a low 139.8 if he keeps this pace up. Taking a lot of the inside on the left, and now coming around Blanc Sabadell and heading into Europe car. What will we be seeing? Definitely very generous track limits with Catalunya. And coming around the last corner and heading to the start-finish line, what is it going to be? Looks like it's going to be a 139.781. So the gauntlet has definitely been thrown down, and Alico's is only 0.3 behind Hako. I think Alico's has an M. We've still got another 4 minutes and 20 seconds left. So anything can happen. Anything will happen. This is the NRL. You all know how the song and dance goes. And we could be seeing a last-minute shakeup, be it Alico's dethroning Hako at the last second, Talon dethroning Alico's, Fernando coming out of nowhere and dethroning P's, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. It's anybody's game right now. It's not over until everybody's crossed the line and we see that result screen. So definitely don't think this is over yet. Coming into the hairpin, and out goes Alico's, using all the track he can, and really carrying quite a bit of momentum too with it. As he heads over into Verth, what are we looking at? Ooh, looks like a bit of understeer, but is able to hold on to it. Maybe that was the intended design, who knows? Feathering the throttle, coming in through Campsa, and off he goes. Into the third time check, what are we going to be seeing? It is looking like he is down 11 thousandths of a second, which can be easily shaved off if these next corners go absolutely swimmingly. going through Blanc Sabadell again and holding a good line, letting the car naturally run out, carrying the momentum, and off. Ooh, and it looks like it was only off the throttle for just a split second, then hammered back on there. Yep, Alicos is driving like a man on a mission, carrying a ton of momentum, and what will we be seeing? A 139.6 or 968, I beg your pardon. That just shaved off about 1.7 tenths, and now he's only 1.7 tenths behind Hako. So if he can recreate something to that nature, I think we might see a last-minute upset in the last 2.5 minutes of this qualifier. Now, jumping over to you, Hovercraft, what have your thoughts been so far with everything you've seen in this qualifier?
I think what's very interesting to see is how most of these guys are getting their fastest lap later into the session. I know of this because this car is notoriously difficult to handle under braking. I've noticed a lot of these drivers sometimes either brake a little bit too hard or brake a little bit too late, and you really get punished in this car and this track. You want to do everything possible to make sure you stay on your line during the braking portions of these corners. That's why I think a lot of these drivers are getting their fastest laps right at the end of this session. Obviously, they're getting warmed up. They're obviously, getting the adrenaline through their body. But, getting comfortable with this car is just so important to eking out every single tenth that you can get.
Yeah, I do definitely agree that this car is probably a bit of a handful. What was the... Because it's the BRZ, and then isn't there a Toyota car that's built the exact same way as the BRZ?
Yep, the BRZ actually has 3 different variants. There is the Toyota variant, which is the GT86, and then the Scion FRS. I believe the FRS is currently out of production, but I believe, both the BRZ and the 86 road cars are still being produced. I'm not quite sure what race car is being used though nowadays.
All right, because I know in real life we do have the Toyota GR86 Cup, and whenever Toyota does their annual thing on Gran Turismo, there's always a BRZ versus 86. So would it be safe to assume that if there is a Group 3 86, I'm not 100% sure. I don't own every, Group 3 car in this game, but would it be a safe assessment to make that if there is a Group 3 86, it would handle the same way as the BRZ does?
It's very possible, especially since they, naturally use the same blueprints and the same chassis. If Toyota, I don't know if there is one in real life. I know there isn't one in the game. I know the 86 has a Group 4 variant. But yeah, I mean, in real life, if Toyota decides to implement a 86 Group GT3 car or a GT300 car in this instance, I would not be surprised for them to handle very similarly between the two.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
and Toon, actually, as qualifying's getting close to wrapping up, it looks like Shaggy has run out of fuel, unfortunately.
Oh, he ran out of fuel again? That is really unfortunate to hear, but I did see when Shaggy was finishing that last lap, he had a lot of motivation through it, but he did wind up unfortunately getting a half-second penalty. So right. That with that in conjunction with the no fuel, that has unfortunately got to leave a bit of a bitter taste in Shaggy's mouth, but if we know Shaggy, he's not going to stay down long. As we see Hako hit the illustrious 139.5. Thank you. Toon's fortune telling services are now open. Honestly,
unfortunate for Shaggy. Kudos to Hako for putting that down. Shaggy's got himself a pretty good time. He's only about a second off of Hako's 139.5 there, so he's got himself currently in the 4th position for this split. But that should hold up to a pretty good spot.
Yeah, I think the time that Shaggy set will definitely be kind of a benchmark for Division A. I think the real heavy hitters are going to be qualifying somewhere in the realm of where Hako and Alicos landed. But once all of our drivers finish crossing the line or the timer runs out, whichever comes first, we'll be able to get a more accurate look at what our drivers kind of were able to bring to the table for this first split. And I mean, coming up first split really isn't ideal because you don't have as much time to practice like your peers do, but it might be a good mental game because you're going first and you're kind of in that stage of you don't know what they're going to do, they don't know what you're going to do, so you can either wow everybody, intimidate everybody, or lure everybody into a false sense of security, and then once the season proper kicks off, kind of leave people's jaws on the floor. Who knows? This is the NRL. Now, I see we've got Fernando in the pits. I think we saw Shaggy in the pits for a second, but the timer should be running out here in the next few seconds. I'm getting word from production in about 15 seconds, so I just want to congratulate everybody for coming in and choosing to do split one for the pre-qualifier, and it's a great way to really bring the season back. Now, let's go and take a look at the classified qualifying results. So taking pole position will be, or pole position for this qualifier, will be Hako 1337 with the blinding quick 139.5. I think we're going to be seeing another couple names over the next 2 days in that realm. Followed by Alikos, who was able to break into the 139 territory valiantly with a 139.968. Coming in behind him and rounding out our top three for the first split will be Talon with a very fast 140.317, with Shaggy Doo with a 140.567, rounding out our 140 finishers. We have Bells in P5, rounding out our top five with a 141.054, so close to that 140 territory. I think if we had a little more time, Bells could have done it. Going down the order, we have MK3SKR with a 141.798, and rounding out our split one drivers will be BHR Fernando Button with a 143.548. All very good times from all these drivers, definitely better than what I could have done, but split one, Slow-Mo, what are your thoughts?
Well, no surprise with Hako going out there and putting up a blistering time. It's really good to see that he's not all by himself. Alikos is not terribly that far from him. Going back down to the bottom with Fernando, I just don't think he had the qualifying session he wanted to. We know Fernando's done a lot of very good driving over the past 6, 8, 10 months. So I would imagine he's not terribly happy with where that time worked out for him, but I think he had a little bit more to get out of that track today. We'll have to see where that ends him up. It kind of makes me pose the question where that bubble is going to fall, which is really the question that we're all anxious to find out today.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt. Hovercraft, do you have any final thoughts for our split one qualifier?
I think overall, the top time currently set so far is actually a pretty good representation of, I think, what we will be seeing the actual top time by the end of the night. That time may be the top time for the rest of the night. But I personally think I think we also saw a really good mixture, or just really good strength in terms of the mid pack. Shaggy with the 140.5, if I remember correctly. I think that's actually pretty decent, and I think that is going to be close to the overall cutoff point for Division A. I think we will probably be seeing the last time in Division A to be around the 40.8 mark. If anything, we probably got a few too many good drivers at the beginning of Split 1. But obviously, time will tell. By the end of the night, we'll see who's going to be Division A, who's going to be Division B, and unfortunately, who's going to have to go home for the rest of the season.
You're very correct in every last bit of that. And speaking of kind of figuring out where everybody's going to wind up, we are going to take a quick intermission, and when we come back, we will have our Split 2 qualifier about to be underway. So please go make sure you grab a snack, grab something to drink, do whatever you need, and stay tuned. We will be back in just a few moments. Alrighty, welcome back everybody to the NRL's Friday pre-qualifying session. We had an amazing first split, and now we are going to get underway with split 2. But before we do that, let's refresh our memories on what our drivers are up against. I would also like to give a quick thank you once again on behalf of the NRL to our sponsors, that being the DGDR Podcast, Hankey's Tavern, Little JCPA, Lithograph Comics, Mist Chronicles, and I believe that is just about everybody. Thank you all so much for sponsoring the NRL's 6th season. We are so happy to have you on board, and we hope this leads to many more fruitful endeavors in the future. Now, just to refresh our memories on what our drivers are up against for this pre-qualifying session, we are at the full circuit for Circuit de Barcelona Catalunya. There is a 20-minute time limit. It is 3 times tire, 3 times fuel. They have an initial fuel of 30 liters on a sunny late morning. They will be driving the Group 3 Subaru BRZ GT300 with the BOP on, brake balance allowed, heavy damage, and racing soft tires. Making our way over to the point allocation. Slow-mo, will you please refresh our memories?
Yeah, absolutely. For the first time in NRL history, we are allocating points for pre-qualifying here. So the top third are going to end up with 5 points. The middle third end up with 3 points. And those that are on the bottom third are not going to get any points. Again, our divisions are split up by the top 14 and then the next 14 drivers. Top 14 go into Division A, and do not forget about some of those auto qualifiers that we have on our list.
Thank you very much, Slow-mo. Now taking a look at our driver lineup for Split 2, we have Flux Flare, IORT Fishtail, Negative Waves, PHG Strict 9, VIP Player, and Zilla. Listed next to their names on the driver card will be their YouTube and or Twitch information should it be applicable. You are more than welcome to go and check them out and see if they are broadcasting, but please make sure you leave a tab open and unmuted. That way you do not miss any of the racing action. All right, so I think we could qualify this this split as a more intimate venue. It's more condensed. We have drivers that will probably have a little more breathing room as opposed to the drivers that we had last split, even though it's a difference of about 1. But hey, that 1 extra car does make a difference. Do you think we'll be seeing some drivers giving each other some breathing room, or do you think we might be seeing some drivers trying to use some slipstream to get themselves that extra 1,000th or maybe 100th of a second, Slow-mo?
Wow. If it's me, I'm going to try and take that opportunity to get behind somebody and utilize that slip. But with there being this few cars out there, it is possible that these guys space themselves out. Like we saw in the previous race, maybe you get somebody out there that's going to burn some fuel right off the bat. That'll separate them a little bit, give them some breathing room as well. So depending upon what strategies these guys are running, they could potentially be bunched up for the first couple laps.
All right. Hovercraft, what are your thoughts? Do you think we'll be seeing people giving each other breathing room, or do you think we'll be seeing people trying to leverage each other for fast times?
Personally, how I would attack this circuit with this pre-qualifying format, I want to give myself some breathing room. While there is definitely spots where slipstream can be useful, specifically down the main straight, it's just this car requires all of its downforce to be used effectively. I don't want to risk anyone, or I don't want to risk myself getting too close to right behind anybody, right, getting that dirty air, especially in Sector 1 and especially in Sector 2, with a lot of these corners are dependent on the downforce.
All right, I could definitely see that. I guess it does really challenge, conventional knowledge for racing, because you have drivers that will think, okay, I need to stay right behind somebody. I need to get as much of their slipstream as possible, maybe do some bump drafts. But just due to how flowy this circuit is, you really can't afford to be doing that religiously, just due to dirty air and the dependency of the downforce with this car. So I know we always see, oh, Dirty Air is a bit of a killer for, the Group 2 cars, the Group 1 cars, super formulas, things of that nature. And, with Group 3, normally you can get away with, riding somebody's slipstream and then at your earliest convenience try and slingshot them. But just from everything you've described with this car, I almost feel like the best analogy for this is you have to drive it like you're driving a class higher with how dependent it is on said downforce. Now, you're more than welcome to point out any flaws in my logic if you feel the need to, Hovercraft.
No, you're pretty much right on point, and it's not necessarily just the downforce going through the corner. More than anything, it's the downforce under the braking, right? As I was mentioning before, this thing wants to get squarely under the brakes, right? Even though most of these drivers, I'm thinking, are going to be putting their brake downs 5 to the rear, mostly to preserve the fronts. This car has a tendency to, either slide a little bit under heavy braking or just going wide, right? And the more downforce available to you, the more clean air you have, the less the brakes have to work overall, which means a happier car, which means faster lap times.
Okay, so it's really a lot of trying to cater to what the car wants. It's like, happy wife, happy life, happy car, fast lap times. I know it's not as catchy, but I'd say it kind of fits right here. Now, as we look at Negative Waves, who is coming through the antepenultimate corner, currently at about a 125, I honestly think this could set the bar pretty high for this qualifier, especially if he can carry this momentum as he comes around the final corner. I'm gonna suspect probably a low 140 here. Would I be? Yeah, very, very low 140, almost a 139. So yeah, that definitely set the bar pretty high. But Flux Flare, only 0.07 of a second right behind. I would not put it past us to be seeing these two duke it out for the fastest lap time in this qualifier. I know there's really no fastest lap bonus for pre-qualifying, but hey, a win's a win. We're all here because we're competitive, so who knows what we're going to see as we see Negative Waves go up 2.5 hundredths of a second, I should say. And probably, honestly, I think my odds-on favorite to be around the 139.5, maybe 139.6 range, because a 139.4, while it is possible, I think that might be for some of the heavy hitters on Saturday. I'm not sure who we have coming up for the next split, but I don't know. I think it's going to take a lot of sheer determination for a 139.4, but maybe we'll see a Mad Lad that hits, I don't know, a 138. Is it possible? I don't know, but we'll have to find out. As we jump on board with VIP Player, who is currently about 3/4 of a second behind Flux Flare in terms of time. We've still got a ton of time left on this qualifier, so I think it's all about just getting into a rhythm and kind of making sure that, the strategy is viable. I do see that he's starting lap 4, the third hot lap, and there's already quite a bit of wear on the left side tires, and that fuel light is flashing rather quickly. Will it be enough to finish the lap, though? I'm not 100% sure. I do see we have Fishtail and Strychnine along with Flux Flare in the box. So I'll kick it over to you, Hovercraft. We've already got somebody that's dancing with a 139. What do you think the fastest time you'll see this qualifier or this split will be?
Like I said before, that 39.5 is very, very juicy in terms of how fast it is around this corner. It's already really reaching the peak of what this car is capable of. If we see any time faster, we would be very hard pressed to see anything faster than a 39.4. And that's really, one of these surprise drivers just putting out something ridiculously fast with absolute focus and absolute precision. Not saying it's impossible, right? Saturday, we could be seeing those 39.3s or 39.4s, but at least in this split, yeah, I think that 39.5 has I'd say 60% chance of being the fastest lap the entire Friday qualifiers, but not saying we can't see something faster.
All right, I can definitely see where you're coming from. NRL, though, is a place where, miracles do happen. We are quite familiar with the last second 2000th overtake in qualifying times and things of that nature. We've seen some stuff that kind of beggars belief. Moose becoming a pilot for a moment in one of the previous seasons. So, I don't know. It's hard telling. I would like to see a 39.4 just to, say, oh, look, that's possible. But, yeah, I'd say 39.5 might be towards, like, the top 3% of drivers for both days. I don't know. There's just so many variables to take into consideration here, because all these drivers have been qualifying in pretty much entirely clean air too. So we haven't even factored in what these times could look like with any form of slipstream. I mean, Flux Flare's still only 700ths behind Negative Waves and is on their 5th overall lap. Looks like we've got some fresher tires and about under a quarter of a tank of fuel. Honestly, I think we may have a theme for the refuel at the very least. You don't want to go above maybe a quarter of a tank from what I've gathered so far if you want, some delicacy on the tires and, the ability to kind of push this car in its lightest form. I don't know. It's interesting to see how people pick up on these patterns, and it looks like Flux Flare picks up a half-second penalty for a track limit infringement, which is unfortunate because that is a very nice looking Sonic livery and it doesn't deserve a half-second penalty over it. Now let's take a look at what happened here. So comes on over, yep, just got the two tires a hair over the red and white and just immediately got slapped with that penalty. So off into the pits, Flux Flare will go, and I want to commend Flux Flare. He is a braver driver than because I would have probably done those two wheels on the inside and immediately thought, well, I'm getting a 3-second pen for that, because I actually don't know how the pit lane infringement works. I've heard that some tracks on the inside you can go over, but it's finicky. Now, looks like Strict9 has cut down on the time and has jumped into P4, but it wasn't for long as Fishtail goes and slaps that time by just over 0.3 of a second. So, looks like the times for the back half are also going to be relatively close. Now, Fishtail is currently sitting at a 1:41.538 according to the timing board here. Take that time with a grain of salt. It's accurate when it wants to be. And as we've got Fishtail coming into Repsol, I believe it is pronounced, kind of running a little wide, staying in the middle of the road and bringing it out almost to the curbing and heading into Seat, Seat, or Sayat, depending on how you want to pronounce it, coming in and getting quite a bit of speed out of there. Now as Fishtail heads over in towards Worth and up towards Kampsa, I think Fishtail might have something going for him on this lap. Looks like he's showcasing quite a bit of car control, and as we head up towards the third timing, down 0.3 of a second. A little unfortunate, but we still have 9 minutes left in this qualifier, plus whatever runoff is available as well. So, I mean, maybe down, but not out. The only thing that might be out soon is that fuel tank, so we'll have to see if Fishtail is going to go into the pits. Nope, looks like Fishtail has enough fuel to last one more victory lap And looks like we've got Strict 9 saying my turn now and is up by almost 800ths of a second. Hovercraft, we're seeing quite a bit of tug of war between Strict 9 and Fishtail. Do you think one person might have a better chance of getting the last lap than the other?
I think overall, I've been actually enjoying Fishtail's actually entries a little bit more. I think he can actually bite in a little bit more, but I've been seeing that he controls the throttle a little bit better than Strict 9. So I think if he can get a little bit more effective with the brakes, I think we can see him go ahead. But I just want to quickly point out we have a new member in the 39 Club, and that is Negative Waves, the Canadian. He is able to go ahead of, I believe, Alicos from the last split.
Yeah, that does actually put him at about a 10th of a second ahead of Alicos. So for overall top three, it's looking like it's Hako, Negative Waves, and Alicos. We'll have to see how that shakes up for the rest of this qualifier and for the next split too. So you mentioned the corner entry and kind of getting more bite in there. For the uninitiated, such as myself or the uninitiated that might be watching at home, how would you go about kind of prioritizing that extra grip in corner entries on a track with many flowy corners such as this one?
I think the most important thing is just trying to get the car really, or trying to get in tune with the car in terms of just the amount of traction or the amount of peak traction that you can, right? As I was mentioning before, this car is very difficult to drive into the corners, right? The brakes are very sketchy half the time and notoriously bad the other half of the time. So the best way to keep it manageable is obviously to try to you want the car to be stable the entire way through. You do not want it to, you don't want to bite more than you can, right? If anything, you want to underdrive going into the corners than overdrive, because there's just nothing that the rear is going to allow you to do if you do get it loose. So the best way you can do it is really just be more passive on your braking point. Make sure everything you can do to keep the wheel straight into the entry, and then you really want to just feather the brakes going into the apex, right? There, like I said, there's just no give with this car. There's no last second hoorah that you can do with this car. The car's not gonna like it. The car is gonna punish you by spinning around. So Fishtail has been able to do it in that kind of philosophy, but he's just not. He needs to be a little bit more aggressive with his initial braking points, but I'm liking what I'm seeing from him.
All right. So I definitely read you loud and clear, and I can see where you're coming from with it being like necessary to be a little more aggressive with it, and also with how this car is pretty much like a stubborn ox. You pretty much have to play by its rules as opposed to trying to get the car to work with you. You have to kind of cooperate with how that car wants you to really handle it. And I think that's probably going to be the largest handicap for the drivers for like this entire pre-qualifying session, because there's quite a bit of cars that are very forgiving in this game. The Group 3 Renault being the first one that springs to mind. It's a very forgiving car. It's a very planted car. It wants to work with you. But then again, you also have cars such as this one, any of the Astons, the McLaren, from my experience at least, that thing does not want to cooperate with you. The Corvette, like it seems like there's just like these subclasses of Group 3 machinery and just cars in general in GT7 that they either want to be your friend or they are solely it's my way or the highway. And I think these pre-qualifying sessions kind of give the drivers kind of a reality check on whether or not they can execute a fast lap time while operating within the realms of what the car wants you to do instead of what you want the car to do, because historically these combinations for the NRL, they are off the wall. They are ones that you'll look at and you'll be groaning, but like 45 minutes of practice later, you're sitting there saying, oh my God, this is more fun than it should be. Like, it has no business being this good. and things of that nature. So in terms of, kind of giving the drivers a litmus test, where do you think like this BRZ kind of falls on that list of cars that want you to play by their rules instead of the other way around?
Definitely, this car definitely wants you to play by its rules. There's no getting around it, right? Like I said, the biggest problem with this car, I think, is the brakes. I've noticed some drivers, especially talking to my team, they don't like the throttle application, they don't like the power curve, they don't like how it puts the power down onto the track. But I don't find that the issue. I think the issue is definitely just the brakes. It doesn't want to give you any sort of leeway. It doesn't want to give you any sort of mercy. You compare this to, as you said, the Renaults, the McLarens, even another front engine car, for example, the Lexus, right? The Lexus is very forgiving on the brakes, right? You brake a little bit late, okay, well, you get a little bit worse mid apex speed, but you're perfectly fine. You're still stable. This thing doesn't want to do that. If it gives you do one small mistake, it's it's gonna send you home. And that's part of the fun of this car, to be honest. Just how the lack of mercy gives it its kind of own identity, right? And whoever does, for some of the drivers who don't get as good of a qualifying time as they might have hoped, I think they can walk away being very confident and just being very proud at the fact that they took such a challenging car, challenging for Group 3 at least, and still be confident and competing in such a competitive field, right? And that's to every driver, not just Split 2 on Friday. This goes to all the Saturday drivers as well.
Yeah, I mean, huge respect to all the drivers that have decided to sign up and take a crack at the NRL and try to chase that glory and, the prizes and everything that comes along with it. Like, even if, on the Saturday side you don't make the cut, like, at least you tried. You did great. We're happy to have seen you here, and this is all about self-improvement. So if by some chance you don't make the cut for whatever reason, there's still going to be way many more seasons of NRL after this one. There's still going to be tons of racing. Like, just keep getting better. NRL is always going to be here. It is probably more of a constant than the GTWS's like entirety of their their open qualifiers and stuff. So I mean, you've always got a home here if you want some good racing. Like, you want fun, you want something to challenge you, make you a more well-rounded driver. We're here. Now, as we are approaching the closing moments of this qualifying session, Negative Waves, his time has not been touched. Ooh, Zilla getting a little squirrely on that one, and I'm kind of concerned if Zilla has enough fuel to finish the remainder of this qualifier. It's looking a little low, but hey, miracles do happen, and Zilla is only 0.004 of a second under his personal fastest lap. So there is still opportunities to set a new fast lap, at least for Zilla. Now, in terms of overall fast lap, Flux Flare is down by just under 1/4 of a second. It will take a significant Hail Mary. I almost cursed that man into oblivion. Flux Flare was able to hold on to it, but just. And thank you. It's too early in the season for me to be doing that. Now, as we see Strict 9 coming across the line for the final time, it will be a 1:42.221, down 3/4 of a second and some change from his personal fastest lap. Now, as we jump on board with Fishtail, who's coming around for the final time, what are we going to be seeing? We're going to be seeing a 1:42.2, so it looks like Fishtail will not get the last minute aha on Strict 9. Now, as we see Negative Waves coming across the line, it looks like it's going to be a 1:42 point. I couldn't catch that last decimal. Moving on over towards Zilla, who's about to come across the line for the final time. What will it be? We will be seeing a 1:42.103, up 1/4 of a second. Well done. Now Flux Flare with a unfortunate. Okay, don't give us the time then. Now, with all the drivers across across the line, let's get into the classified qualifying results. So, taking P1 for Split 2 and P2 overall is going to be Negative Waves with a blistering 139.878, followed close behind by Flux Flare and with a 140.094. Rounding out our top three will be a man that it was kind of just on an island all by themselves for the entire qualifying session, VIP player with a 140.394, rounding out our top three. Now moving over to the heated battle for P4 between Strychnine and Fishtail. Strychnine takes it, but just by not even 700th, actually a little over 700ths of a second separating those two. So we've got Strychnine with a 141.460 and Fishtail with a 141.538, and then rounding out our Split 2 drivers is going to be Zilla with a 142.103. So yeah, that was a good qualifier. It was nice to see a bit of a battle. Slow-mo, let's get your thoughts on that.
Really not a whole lot of surprises from that one. I think the one big surprise from that would be that Zilla, I think, had a little bit time that he had left out on the track on that one. I think he was certainly gunning for something down in the 140s, 141s. So that's probably the one big surprise that I saw out of that. Beyond that, Negative Waves, kudos, breaking that 140 mark. That's fast. I feel like we're really getting a good look at kind of where that bubble's going to be. Like Hover said in the previous split, Shaggy might be right there on that bubble or pretty close to it as a benchmark. So really, really fun to watch group of drivers there.
Oh, without a doubt. It was definitely great viewing for us and probably for those at home. Hovercraft, what were your thoughts on what we saw? Do you think anybody may have left a little more time on the track that they may have had in them? Do you think we saw everybody give it their all?
I think overall, yeah, I think all these drivers can walk away, get off the game tonight thinking that they definitely put everything that they could, right? Maybe some of these drivers could have eked out 1 or 2 more tenths, but, that's just how qualifying happens sometimes, right? You go in thinking you can get a time, and in reality, you could only put out 1 or 2 tenths slower. And that's perfectly acceptable. This is just how driving is. This is just how racing is. And I think all these drivers did exactly that. If they didn't put out their fastest time today, they were only 1 or 2 tenths off any of the fastest times that they did in practice.
All right, I gotcha. I definitely agree with you there. They gave everything they got. They can definitely rest their heads tonight knowing they did a job well done. They gave it their best. They left it on the track. And honestly, I can't wait to see what Split 3 has in store for us, which on the other side of this break will be coming to you live. So sit tight, stay tuned, and go grab yourself something to drink or grab you a snack. We'll be right back. Alrighty, everybody, welcome back. It is just about time we get into our final pre-qualifying split for Friday. Once again, my name is Toon, accompanied by Slow-Mo and Hovercraft. It is a pleasure to have your company. And before we get into getting on with the final split for pre-qualifying, I just want to give another thank you to the Dumb Guys Do Racing podcast, Hanky's Tavern, Little J CPA, Lithograph Comics, and the Mist Chronicles for sponsoring this season. Your support goes a long, long way. Now, with all that said, for one last time, let's go and take a look at what our pre-qualifying drivers are up against today. So, for the pre-qualifier, we are at Circuit de Barcelona, Catalunya for 20 minutes with 3 times tire, 3 times fuel, 30 liters of initial fuel on a sunny late morning with racing soft tires in the Group 3 Subaru BRZ GT 300 2021 model. BOP is on, brake balance is allowed, and there's heavy damage, and the drivers are not allowed to exit back to the menu and jump back to reset themselves into the pits. So that definitely adds a little bit of difficulty for the drivers. Now, Slow-Mo, one more time for those in the back. What are the points looking like?
Yeah, for those of you guys who are just joining us, so the drivers that are qualifying, they're not only trying to get themselves in either A or B division, but there's also points at stake. So the top third drivers will get awarded 5 points after the qualifying has ended. Middle third is going to have 3 points, and there aren't any points that go to the bottom third. So you certainly want to keep yourself out of that bottom third if at all possible, and try and come out of qualifying with at least some points. So the top 14 drivers are going to be assigned to Division A, and the next 14 drivers are going to be put in Division B based on their day. And don't forget about a couple of those auto qualifiers that are already going to be placed in their respective divisions.
Thank you very much, Slow-Mo. Now let's go and take a look at the driver lineup for Split 3. So for our final split this evening, we have Chief Apollo 11, Corridor 71, Detruth Serum, IORT Azriel, Jorge Sr., Moose 21 making a move from Saturday to Friday, NVR Krulov 11, S7R's Wid, and Stumpy. Listed next to their names are their Twitch or YouTube profiles should it be applicable. Feel free to go and take a look at their channels, see if they are live, but make sure you leave this tab open and unmuted so you do not miss any of the racing action. All right. This broadcast has honestly flown by, and we are at our final split. We have some new drivers, we have some returning drivers, and we have drivers moving from Saturday to Friday. You know, the the premier NRL broadcast, if I do say so myself. So, Slow-Mo, with all of that in mind, do you think there's any odds-on favorites, at least for you, in terms of hitting the 139 territory?
It's a really tough question to answer. I do think we're going to see a 139. I think, honestly, the question is, will there be more than one? I think you're going to see a couple of these guys, Jorge, Wid, and maybe even Corridor, that aren't going to have very much trouble getting down on that time. I think Moose certainly also has that potential. So we'll see if those guys are able to break down into that very low 139 mark. For the remainder of the guys in this lobby, honestly, I expect to see a lot of these guys in the 140s. If somebody really doesn't have as good of a session as they'd like, it could be a 141. So I think this one's going to be very, very close.
Oh, without a doubt, the closeness it definitely goes without saying. This is going to be like separated by a hair. Hovercraft, who do you think we'll be seeing hit the 139 territory? And do you think we'll be seeing anybody hit 139.5? Do you think we'll see anybody hit a 139.4?
Well, I gotta say I'm a little bit biased, but I think Sector 7's Wid definitely has a chance of breaking that 39.5. Without a doubt, I think a 39 is definitely doable by him. But, we can't count out everybody. Jorge and I believe Moose and Chief Apollo all have the ability to reach 39s, and honestly, I'd be more surprised if they don't hit the 39s. Some of these drivers I've recognized, I've raced against them race against them myself. They're all very fast and capable, and admittedly, I think there's a higher chance of us seeing 3 or 4 39s than seeing a 41 in this split. That's how competent all these drivers are, and that's kind of a scary thought to think, but that's just the quality of the drivers in this split.
Honestly, you make a bunch of good points there, just given the caliber of drivers we have in this last split. Yeah, I think this is definitely where we're going to be seeing that bubble really take its shape. And if, auto qualifiers, notwithstanding, of course, I'm honestly thinking that by the end of this, we'll be seeing Division A and Division B separated by, I don't know, what seems like a good figure to you, Hovercraft? A couple thousandths of a second or a couple hundredths of a second? Because it's definitely not going to be tenths.
I think it's going to be a couple hundreds. It's so difficult to say, especially with just how fast some of these names come up to me. I can't exactly say 100%, but I would put my bets on the hundreds.
All right, and it looks like we have Truth leading the charge for the hot laps, one of Sector 7's finest, and coming into turn 1, getting hard on the brakes, and looked like a good bit of trail braking too. That's also something we did not touch on, is how well does this car do with trail braking? I know the brakes aren't the best, it doesn't do best under braking, but do you think it really rewards those that understand the fundamentals of trail braking there, Hovercraft?
Absolutely, but you're walking on tightrope with the trail braking, right? You want to get a lot of the speed scrubbed off before you even start thinking of turning that wheel. So, of course, with any car, trail braking is useful, and it's the definite way to go. But just with this car, you have to do it like a little bit later, right? You have to do it a little bit more gentler than other cars. So, yeah, that's part of the challenge as well, right? The second you start turning, the second is the same second the car wants to stop braking. So, you have to break a lot of the habits you have with the other cars and try to instill new ones for this one.
Right. I also do notice, like, as you were talking about getting on the throttle and with the car turning, I want to say Truth is the first person I've actively noticed with traction control on. Do you think that traction control is going to impede his qualifying times at all?
On what we were seeing earlier, right? Well, not earlier tonight, but earlier with my own practices and my own team, what we were able to figure out was that TC1, as I say that, Truth crosses the line with a 40.5, amazing time. Traction control doesn't really hurt it that much.
Oh my god, I gotta cut you off. I'm sorry.
39.
Okay, Wid is already out for blood.
Absolutely. My apologies. Just going quickly to the TC. TC1, TC2 won't really hurt you that much on acceleration. If anything, it just helps you stay a bit more stable going over some of these curves.
Right, and as we have seen earlier, the curbs are pretty unforgiving, and this car just likes to add insult to injury sometimes. I'm sorry, I'm taken aback. First lap, and we've already got a 139.6. I thought we'd at least have a little bit of a build-up, hit the crescendo a little, but no, I guess we're just right out of the gates swinging. And it's with Moose and Truth up in top 3. Jorge is kind of... I think Jorge's still trying to get the rhythm, but I think we're going to be seeing Jorge up there in P2 or P3, maybe even P1, if he can absolutely nail the perfect lap for this circuit. So we've got a show in front of us, folks. This is going to be... This is going to be interesting. And I am also getting word from production that Jorge is nursing a hand injury on behalf of, well, myself and those of us not only on the Friday side, but as the NRL as a whole. We would all like to wish Jorge a very speedy and full recovery, and immense respect for coming out here and doing this pre-qualifying with the hand injury. So very, very valiant effort, Jorge. And he is not letting that slow him down. My God. Okay, 139.7, just a tenth behind Wid. Okay.
That can't
Jorge,
surprise you.
I mean, Jorge always surprises me. I don't know. I shouldn't be fazed by it by now, but I don't know. I don't know. You know, cycling through. Oh. All right. As we're currently cycling through the grid, at least on your end, is anybody sticking out to you at the moment?
Sorry, Tim, who's that?
Just,
oh, okay.
My apologies. Just currently Azriel. I don't know if he in fifth. I don't know if he got a 3-second penalty on the entry or exit of the pit lane, but he does have to serve this before he has to go onto his hot lap.
Well, I mean, it is better to get the 3-second penalty on the out lap, especially because where the penalty line is, with it being an out lap, it doesn't really impede your hot lap at all because you're already slowing down and then you have the hairpin. So, I mean, if there's any time to get a pen, I'd say, yeah, the out lap is the best time to get that. Now, what about on your end, Slow-Mo? Anybody sticking out to you? Anything catching your eye?
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I am a little surprised Corridor being down in 6th, as well as Krulov down at the bottom. But I think these guys are starting to get their rhythm. So, you know, are they going to put up 139.6? I don't know that for a fact, but I do expect both of those guys to climb up the grid a little bit further than where they are right now.
Okay, then we will definitely have to check back in on them closer to the end of the qualifying session. Now, as we are taking a look at Krulov, part of Team New Velocity Racing, with a Logitech Pro Wheel. Very nice, fancy. Looks like fastest lap being a 1:42.4, and yeah, honestly, I am waiting with bated breath to see what Krulov can pull off. And Corridor being down in 6th is quite, it's quite odd to see. Normally we see Corridor a little higher, but then again, we aren't even halfway through this qualifying session, so maybe it's all just a case of finding that rhythm. But, I mean, racing is all about, you know, building your own momentum and getting the rhythm. But with the pit stops being as frequent as they are, I don't know. It's really got to throw a bit of a wrench because you're getting into that groove just to completely unsettle it because you're essentially having to ice yourself for like 45 seconds to a minute and a half, depending on, you know, the kind of pit stop you have. So, I don't know. It's tricky to really fathom how that would really play out in the psyche of, you know, a driver of like these guys. Oh my lord, did Krulov just smack the wall?
I think he did, trying to get into the pits.
Oh, and heavy damage. That's gonna slow him down a little more. At least he can go and get it repaired immediately. So let's see what happens. Oh my god, in the bottom corner I just saw Wid set a 139.3. And yeah, just understeered a little too much. Yep, Wid with a 139.380. I didn't even foresee that, but
I think I might.
Yeah, I think you did say a 139.3. I didn't think we'd see it. I thought it was, you know, mythical, like a unicorn or the Loch Ness Monster. So, people making the magic happen. But, yeah, Hovercraft, what do you think? We got a 139.3. Does it get any faster than that?
It's not much, and I'll say this. I think this is his actual fastest lap because, you know, I was talking to him all the way up to last night, and he never said he reached a 39.3 before, so I don't think this is not only, you know, the first one we'll see in the qualifying sessions, but I think this is the first time he's ever reached that time.
Yeah. for those of you that are going to be qualifying tomorrow, there's your record. You got to try and top a 139.3. Good luck. Now, I do see Wid is getting a teensy squirrely in some of these corners, but then again, that could just be due to how light the car is. And it looks like we've got Wid coming into the box, probably going to give himself a pat on the back, because that is not a time to be taken lightly by any stretch of the imagination. Now, jumping on board with Stumpy, who is currently 0.02 of a second behind Corridor, so we could be seeing a battle for P6 in this qualifier. Looks like Azriel ran out of fuel or entered the pits with no fuel, so into the same manner as Wid. Yeah, we've got what? Like a little over 8.5 minutes left. We've already seen just in unreal time, and for those of you that have watched other competitions outside of the NRL, you should be familiar with Wid and Jorge. They do like to have some heated exchanges on track in terms of pace. They always keep it very clean, as is the nature of, the NRL. We try and hold ourselves to a much higher standard in terms of driving and sportsmanship, of course. So with those factors in mind, I think we might see Jorge flirt with the idea of a 139.4 as well. We've got Moose currently sitting at a 140.3. So Moose is definitely not out of the running yet. Azriel is behind by just under 0.2. So Azriel could throw his hat into the ring for the final qualifying podium spot, just for bragging rights, of course.
Get ready for Jorge.
Get ready for Jorge?
I think he'll be a bit shocked by this.
Okay, I'll be waiting with bated breath. But taking a look at Moose, who's about to come up to the third time check for this lap. Is he going to be on a new fastest? Nope, he is on an out lap. I got a little excited to see what the time was. That's entirely on me. Now with Jorge Sr. and a half-second penalty, set a 139.662. That is very good. Unfortunately, that half-second pen is going to hinder any last hurrahs, but judging by the fuel tank, I think this might have been the box in lap anyway. But yeah, if Jorge is pulling off a 139.6 with an injured hand, I shudder to think how close the time between him and Wid would be if he was driving at 100%. Slow-mo, do you have any speculation on what that could look like if the stars had aligned?
It's funny. Until I heard he had a hand injury, just kind of watching him drive, you never would have known. Jorge's kind of fresh off of his PHG World Series championship there, and he has been running hot. So, it doesn't surprise me to see him doing well.
It doesn't surprise me either. But I don't know. Maybe I just treat this with like a fresh air kind of feeling every time. Each round something new. So I can't really put too much stock into, the previous results. Like, yes, they are indicative, but they're not like the defining law of how this driver's going to, perform, because motorsports, just like baseball, is incredibly unpredictable. Anybody can bounce back from, absolutely inconceivable odds, as we've got Jorge going into the box, and looks like Krulov has set a better time, 142.3, with just a little over 5 minutes remaining. So Krulov could definitely get into the 41 territory with some good momentum. And it looks like there is enough life in not only the tires but the fuel tank to get one more hot lap if he's lucky. And 142.041, yeah, he's right on the precipice of the illustrious 141 territory. Looks like Truth did pick up a half-second penalty back there. Let's see what happens. So coming through the final, or the penultimate corner, my apologies, heading into the final corner. Looks like just understeered off, maybe a little too eager on the throttle there. Yeah, and also set him 300ths of a second down, but I think this would be a good opportunity after serving the penalty to go in and, top up some fuel, get some fresh tires on, and get ready for your last hurrah, where we, by and large, statistically speaking at least, see the most upsets and changes in position. So as we take a look behind truth, we seem to have one Jorge Sr. in tow, and maybe that's also a determining factor on how these times got so fast. Maybe there was a little bit of slipstream and bump drafting for, the likes of Witt and Jorge and maybe even Moose. I don't know, because we are seeing more cars on the grid, so that means there are more opportunities for the bump drafts, the slipstream, just things of that nature. But, and we've got Witt in the box at the moment, and taking a look at Jorge as he's getting ready to round off his out lap. Looks like he's keeping the car very stable and is coming in for the final corner. Will he be able to keep... Whoop, and he definitely keeps it within track limits. So the hot lap for Jorge Sr. is underway. He has just about 3 minutes as of right now, plus runoff, to see if he can shave off that slightly over quarter of a second and pull the last minute Hail Mary and take P1. That would require a lot of determination, a lot of effort, and the stars aligning, but honestly, between Witt and Jorge, I don't put anything past either of these guys. I know, Hovercraft, what are your thoughts on what we've seen so far as we're nearing the closing moments of this last split?
From my understanding, Witt, Jorge, and Hato have been the only drivers so far to get a 29 or into the 29s for Sector 1. Now, when I told you to get ready for Jorge, right, going into the third sector, I promised to God to you, he was 2/10 down of his fastest lap. The only reason why he didn't go into the 39.5s at least, or 39.4s, was because he messed up the final corner. And I think he understands it better than anybody, and I want to see what he can do in this final 2 laps.
I want to see the...
Well,
we got purple! Can he carry this momentum, though? It's only by 200ths of a second, and those 200ths could either multiply or they could vanish in the blink of an eye. We're going to have to stay very closely tuned on Jorge to see what happens here. Coming in to the penultimate corner and onto the final corner, keeping momentum. He is doing a little bit of that downshift to get the extra rotation. Was it enough? Will Jorge take it? And he does by 600th of a second, a 139.313 in classic Jorge and Witt fashion. These two are not stopping until that bell rings. Jorge, well done on a 139.313. That just beggars belief. My goodness. What are your thoughts, Hovercraft?
This is what I was expecting Jorge to do when I told you to do, or when I told you to get ready. So very nice to see that he was able to, recompromise himself, get calmed down and go again. Because right now, Jorge and Witt are both on their final hot lap attempts. This isn't over until the very final, final cross of the line, and Witt is trying everything he can to eke out his car. He is up by almost a tenth going to Sector 2. That is amazing. This is not over until it's over.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a knockdown, dragged-out fight for position between these two. They are very familiar with each other. I'm pretty... Oh, and Witt, I think, just lost all that momentum he had. Oh, that was super unfortunate to see, losing the tail end of the car a little... Oh, and Witt is gone! Oh, my goodness, no! Oh, the first curse of the season, and what happened here? So gets squirrely coming out of the corner, and then coming in. Okay, everything's looking... Do you think he got a little too eager on the throttle there, Hovercraft?
From my looks of it, right, I think he did a little bit too much braking going into that corner. didn't get the apex speed that he was used to, and he wasn't able to apply the throttle as much as you can, right? In that corner, right, if you go a little bit too low on mid apex speed, the rear is still a little bit unstable, and that's why when you try to put down the power, the car just wasn't able to comply, and unfortunately, well, you saw what happened. He went into the wall. Very heart-wrenching to see that he had the fastest sector one time of the night so far, a tenth up of Jorge's time going into sector 2, but unfortunately, it was just not meant to be.
Unfortunately, it wasn't. But I mean, Jorge definitely can't rest on his laurels on that one, because it should he come back and watch the broadcast and see what happened, or gets the inside scoop from Wid. Like, I hope Jorge knows that Wid was out there to get one last hit in as the checkered flag dropped. And I just, you hate to see it. You genuinely do. Now, one thing you do not hate to see is a generous donation from Luis D with $6.99 Canadian. Jorge's hand is fine. He's playing mind game. Honestly, I could see that. But thank you so much for the generous donation, Luis. It's great to see you. And with all of that being said, the money will indeed go to the pot. This is a crowd-funded championship. So any donations via super chats, super stickers, Swiss bank account transfers to McNaughty all go into the prize pool that will be divvied out to our hardworking staff, and most importantly, our drivers at the end of the season. Every little bit goes a long way, and please feel free to donate if you are feeling so inclined. If you can't do it, no worries. Your viewership and your support is more than enough to get us through. We're just happy to bring you all this magnificent racing once again for the 6th time. As I say that, we get $5 from DeCrawler. I really hope I said that right. So thank you very much from DeCrawler, and looks like we've got a donation from a Blue Kamisama of $2. Jorge over here playing chess for fun, but good job. Yep, I mean, it was just great to see, but let's go and take a look at those classified results for qualifying. So, defying all laws of nature and physics, we have Jorge Sr. with a 139.313, followed very close behind by another man who thinks that physics is just a suggestion, with S7R's Wid with a 139.380. Rounding out the top 3 for this qualifying session is going to be Moose 21 with a 140.121. He was right there on the edge of a 139. But he is in good company in the 140s, as Dark and Azrael and Detruth Serum are both in 140s with a 543 and a 578 respectively, rounding out our top 5. We have Corridor in P6 with a 141.362, followed by Stumpy with a 585, with Krula in the 141 territory with a 141.904, and I believe that should be everybody. Yep. And it looks like we had Chief Apollo with a 140.687. Don't know what happened there, but we're glad to see he was able to get a time in. All that being said, that's it. That was our last qualifying split, and I am honestly blown away by what we saw. Hovercraft, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll definitely say we got, I think the best action that we could have gotten to end out the night. Overall, great run by everybody who participated tonight, right? Great drives, great times from everybody. I think everybody can go, go to sleep tonight knowing that they put out their best for everybody to be watching us. But in terms of my actual thoughts, in terms of those final runs, I know how Wit is. I think he's going to be kicking himself because just by the sector 1 time alone, that was on pace to get a 39-2, which I genuinely thought was just not possible. But coulda, woulda, shoulda doesn't really mean much in the world of racing. All that matters is what you actually did, and he didn't get a bad time whatsoever. Jorge would. Congrats to both of you guys. You definitely were the highlights of tonight.
Oh, without a shadow of a doubt, their battle was just a sight to behold. And this is only pre-qualifying. If you think that was intense, wait until the actual races start. Then you'll be left speechless and blown away. Slow-mo, what are your thoughts on everything that we just witnessed with that final split?
Oh man, what a banger! That final split was really exciting, and I think Hovercraft mentioned it. Wid's probably kicking himself. Maybe just pushing a little bit too hard on that last lap. When you've already got a 39.380 on the board, what do you have to lose, right? You've got to go for broke. So that's what he did. He was really pushing on the edge and just got a little bit too far over on one side. Wasn't able to maintain control of that kind of wily BRZ. So really excellent showing by all the drivers today. I would bet you that a lot of these guys are kicking themselves, thinking that they left some time out there. But there's certainly a couple out there that put it all out there. So kudos to them.
Yes, kudos to all of them indeed. Now, we are going to take one final break, and when we come back from the break, it's going to be arguably my favorite part of every broadcast. We're going to be taking a look at not only the final result, but we're going to be taking a look at what round one has in store for us. So all of you, please stay tuned, and when we come back on the other side of this, we'll get to know what round one looks like. See you soon. Alrighty, welcome back, everybody. It's time we bring this night to a close. And before we get into the results, I would like to give one last thank you to our sponsors. So, a very special thank you one last time this evening to DGDR, Hanky's Tavern, Little JCPA, Lithograph Comics, and the Mist Chronicles for sponsoring the NRL 6th season. And also a thank you to Salamander MN for the generous $10 donation as we were going into our last break. It is very much appreciated. And once again, this goes directly into the prize pool and the payout for the staff who worked tirelessly to make sure we can bring you this beautiful program without a hitch. With all that said, let's go and take a look at the classified results for Divisions A and B for this season for Friday. Starting off with our pre-qualifying. Looking at the pre-qualifying results, I believe this is the Saturday one. All right, looking at the Friday for 1 to 14, it looks like we have.
Just building a little excitement here. Are you guys ready?
Yep. We got to spin the wheel. Come on, everybody. Bated breath. We love keeping you on the edge of your seats. Honestly, I think 1 through 14 is going to be close, and then it's going to just be like a sheet of ice thin between Division A and B. And honestly, I'm chomping at the bit to see who goes where. This is going to be real interesting because this also shows the auto qualifiers too, doesn't it? So we've got some drivers that we didn't even see. So we're going to be seeing, there's going to be a lot of surprises on this one. Yeah, honestly, hovercraft, I'm thinking we're going to be seeing this separated by only a couple tenths. Slow-mo, a couple tenths or a couple thousandths.
When you guys were talking about that, I was thinking, man, if he comes to me, what would my answer be? I want to say a couple thousands. I really am having a lot of trouble figuring out where exactly the bubble is going to fall on this, but I think it's kind of like Hovercraft may have mentioned earlier on, not too far from where Shaggy's time is. I think Shaggy's probably safe with Division A, but I think that bubble's going to be shortly thereafter.
You know what? I could definitely see that. And, I mean, we got to commend Shaggy. Like, he's always on a controller,
yep.
Automatic transmission. It doesn't matter what you have. As long as you can be fast with it, you're fast with it. Don't let anybody dissuade you from driving any differently. So, controller and automatic, controller manual, wheel and automatic, which I'm sure is somewhere in there. As long as you can be fast with it, you're fast with it. Now, let's see. So,
Still working through some technical issues there, but while we do that, I mean, to your point, Shaggy has always been a fan of the Subarus, so he's driven the BRZ quite a bit, right?
Yeah.
I think the pad could be a little bit of a disadvantage. We all kind of know that the pad can wear tires a little bit quicker. You don't quite get as accurate of response on it. To see him being able to compete with some of these guys on pad, I see a lot of guys who do well on pad. So don't ever let that discourage you. It's certainly a possibility if that's how you're going to play.
Oh yeah, and I'd like to, take you back, Slow-Mo, to Season 1 when we had Sophia, who literally drove with motion controls and was just cleaning house with a lot of the drivers. So, just motion control and just absolutely sent it. So, every single input option is valid for this. I'm sure if somebody found a way to set up like a flight simulator joystick, they could find a way to be fast with this. I mean, you can't do a Guitar Hero controller, you need to be able to turn, but, I digress. So, yeah, it doesn't matter what you got, as long as you're comfortable with it, you're good. Now, picking over to you, Hovercraft, get word from production, we are ready. So let's see what we got. So, taking overall P1 for Friday in Division A from qualifying will be Jorge Sr., followed by Wid with Hako rounding out our top 3. We have Negative Waves in P4, Alico rounding out our top 5. We've got Flux Flare in P6, Moose in P7, Talon in P8, VIP in P9 with IORT Azrael rounding out our top 10. We've got Shaggy Doo in P11. Got a little higher up than I thought, but his time between himself and Truth is only 0.02 of a second. We've got Chief Apollo 11, and we have Bells rounding out our Division A. Now keep that time in your mind, 141.054. Let's see what Division B's top time is. 141.151, so about a 1/10 of a second. So for Division B, we have Sheldologist leading the charge, followed by Corridor, RJ in P17, so P3 in Division B. We've got C. Baker in P4 with, we have Hando for 19. We've got Strict 9 with the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We followed by Santa Miguel, Fishtail, Stumpy. We have MK3. We have Krula, Zilla, and Fernando Button rounding out our Division B. There is nobody going home. Everybody gets a shot this season for Friday. Can't say the same for Saturday. But speaking of Friday and all these times in our minds, let's go and take a look at what our drivers are dealing with for round 1. Starting off with Division B. Round 1 is going to be at Sardinia, but which layout? What do we have here? So, Division B, round 1, we have Sardinia. Ooh, which layout is that one? Is that C? I believe that's, yeah, Sardinia. Yeah. Oh. I'm getting word from production that it is Road Track B Reverse, and they will be in the GR4 Audi TT. It will be a 10-minute qualifier. They will have racing softs and mediums available. They will be driving 23 laps, four times tire, 4 times fuel, and heavy damage. This is going to be an interesting one. Hovercraft, we'll start with you and your professional opinion. We've got a front-wheel drive car on a Sardinia B Reverse, which isn't really known to be merciful to those FF cars.
Yeah, my first thoughts is, I don't like this race. Yeah, as you said, the tires are not going to be they're not going to be treated nicely, even in the best of cars. This Audi TT is notorious, but also I've noticed with this car too, it has some corners where the rear will kick out, and I wonder if that's going to be at play around here, because I know at Goodwood there were some corners where I had difficulty in keeping that rear stabilized, and I think there is one small trick with this car that I wonder who is going to discover while practicing to get the brakings to stabilize. I'm not going to reveal it to anybody, but there is one small trick that does help with that. But overall, I think it's going to be a fun race. I think both tires are going to be viable. Yeah, a 1-stop or a 2-stop, I think.
All right. Now, Slow-Mo, how many Division B drivers are looking at this and they're thinking, no, not this, please, anything but this?
Oh man, I don't know. I it's hard to say. This is one of those tracks that's kind of a love or hate relationship for a lot of people. I think you could have a lot of the Division B guys could really enjoy this with a little bit of practice and a little bit of time involved. So the reverse layout can be a little tricky, and as Hover was talking about, this car has a few little quirks to it that could really be used to your advantage if you can work through those. So I think our Division B guys are in for a lot of fun practice coming up, getting prepared for this race. And to be honest with you, I'm a huge fan of strategy. This one is going to be chock full of different opportunities with a couple strategies that Hover mentioned.
You know what? I definitely see your point. But with all that said, let's go and see what Division A has in store for us. So, for Division A, it looks like we are at Circuit de St. Croix, or Croix, I guess. They are, it will be the Layout B regular, and they are in the SRT Tomahawk VGT group. Okay.
Hey, what?
Okay.
Wow.
So, it's not the one that goes 1,000 miles an hour, but it's still the Tomahawk. They're going to be doing 18 laps, 4 times tire, 3 times fuel, racing softs and mediums. BOP will be on, and unlike Division B, which is a rolling start, this is going to be a grid start with false start check. They'll have a 10-minute qualifier, 25 liters of fuel, and God help these drivers. That is going to be fun, but also tricky because that is a beast of a car, even in Group 1. Hovercraft, what are your thoughts?
First thoughts are the first half of this track is lovely. The second half of this track is miserable. I know some corners here are already traction problem spots, especially right after the bridge, or the second corner after the bridge. But even that third sector, I know that little, quirky left right has that weird bump going on to the final straight. And yeah, I think a lot of these drivers are gonna have to figure out how to keep this car stable at some key points during the lap, and just hope they're able to keep it pointing straight the entire race.
Yeah, that's really all you can hope for with this one. Slow-mo, what are your thoughts on this combination?
Make sure you got your braking points, because that car can get, it's going to be a big challenge for some of these guys. Well, obviously we're talking about Division A, so these guys are very skilled, but keeping this car under control in some of those sections that Hubbard was talking about is going to be a challenge no matter how much practice you put in. So that one is going to be exciting to watch. That car will fly.
Yeah, let's just hope it flies in terms of speed and not Moose's definition of flying.
That's right.
Now, for those of you wanting more racing action, the NRL will be back tomorrow with the lovely Flood Genius Gaming, T-Case, and S7R Tati for the Saturday pre-qualifying. That begins at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Convert to your local time zone where applicable. Yeah, you will not want to miss that because there's going to be just as much action, if not more, over there. And with all of that, I believe it is time that we must regrettably bid you all adieu for the evening. Thank you all so much for tuning in for the pre-qualifying. Welcome back to NRL. We are officially back. It is the 6th season. How time has flown. If you want to catch up with any of us, you can find Slow-Mo over on YouTube. You can find Hovercraft over with Sector 7 Racing and also in the Sector 7 Racing Discord. But I'm sure you'll see all of us out in the wild, and you can find me over on Twitch. Thank you all so very much. It has been an honor and a privilege to have your company this evening, and we will see you both tomorrow and next week for round 1. Bye-bye for now.